So I am Tristan's mum. I'm Oscar's mum. I'll go through the list. So epilepsy awareness advocate. I'm on a couple of different patient involvement programs as well. I am doing my training at the moment with Epilepsy, which will enable me to better influence the way clinical trials, the way treatments, anything medical works in this country. I think having gone to Colorado for Tristan and even the Netherlands and seeing all the different aspects, you see where we're doing well, but you see where we can do better. So I think when I came back, I really thought, how can I make a difference to everybody else, and how can I make sure that things will constantly improve? So I get squeamish at Oscar's wobbly teeth, so I couldn't go down the medical route. So I began my law degree, and I started to sit in on a lot of panels, a lot of health boards, and I think when we got the opportunity to make recommendations for the medical access program, it was brilliant to make some recommendations and have a lot of them be taken up, and there are some amendments that have been made to legislations because of our recommendations, and you know, we've made a difference somehow, and I'm glad for that. So where's the clicky thing? Sorry, and I'll get on to the next. I'm running in the local elections as well, so okay, so we began when Tristan got his diagnosis. We didn't know anything about genetic epilepsies. I've had my diagnosis for a long time, and I still didn't know anything about genetic epilepsy. So we started looking into Dravet, what it was, what his options were, what his future holds for him. It was so bleak, and I think because Tristan was on the severe end of things, and we were seeing so many different types of seizures come in at such a young age. By 10 months old, he was having every range of seizure, the drops, the tonics, the absence, the focals, the tonic-clonics, all of them, and they were clustering, and they were just horrible, and he had no quality of life. And we were very aware that the medications that were being brought in, the side effects were going to slow down his development as much as the seizures were. So we started looking into things, we started to research, and besides the medications, there were not really much more options until we found Raphael Mechelin. And I seem to have a good knack for contacting many great professionals, many in the room. He spoke to me, and he is a gentleman, and he's incredibly knowledgeable, and he has been doing this for a very long time. So his frustration is that all his research has not been implemented very well yet, and where the CBD aspect of things is moving quite well, all the other aspects that he has discovered and has, I suppose, found where it works and how it works and where it doesn't work so well isn't being implemented as well. Although I think he's partnering up with GW at the moment, so maybe he'll influence to go down the THC route soon. Either way, he guided us towards America. So we spoke with people in Canada. Met with Oren Davinsky. And before we left Ireland, I think they guided us to the professionals that could help us when we got there. We did try to go the European route. I don't think there was anything really as far as clinical trials or any established medicine that was open to us going over to Europe at that point. I think it was in 2016 that even in the Netherlands were accepting patients in that direction. So America really was the only option for us. Sorry, I'll just go back to that paper. This is actually quite new paper. It is Oren Davinsky's paper, so really a CBD-only paper. But again, it does show great results from it. He did have a lot of frustrations as far as the THC aspect of things. I think even when we were in Colorado, he had He had applied for a study, a trial with THC and got turned down, as did the Children's Hospital in Colorado. So, you know, there is a lot of effort to get these accurate studies and clinical trials, but unfortunately he didn't get any benefit to get that. Another lady we met, Charlotte Gervais, who was incredibly fascinating. She believes the cure is in genetics, the microRNA. This is my big hope, and that's really where I hold the hope for Tristan and for any other child with these horrible, severe seizures. It is gene therapy, and unless something else radically comes along, I think that's where we're really looking at to help our kids. One of the things that I put to her, the paper just underneath her here, was about vaccines. I'm pro-vaccine. I think they're brilliant, but something that we had always questioned, and 80% of the parents that we've spoken to believe that the vaccine was the cause of their child's seizures. And it was something that I had thought about. It was literally in the first few days, he got sick after his vaccine. First few days, he had his first anaclonic 20 minutes, then it paused, and then a 30-minute. And, you know, even the doctor that called was like, there's something really wrong here. You know, we did not know what was going on. Thankfully, our medical team done lots of work very quickly and got genetics done. And we did find out that not only was it something horrible like Dravet, but it was on the severe end of things as well. But yes, sorry, the vaccine. So I put it to Charlotte Dravet, vaccine cause, what's the situation? As far as the genes are concerned, if somebody is a carrier of a gene, the SCN1A gene, and you have one person that has the vaccine and one person that doesn't. Is there a genetic difference? That's pretty much what I was getting at. Is there a genetic difference between somebody that presents with seizures that has the same gene and some that doesn't? And there's no difference. The difference is it needs a trigger. And in 50% of patients that have Dravet, 50% of them will trigger from their vaccine. So it's a trigger. I was glad to know it wasn't a cause, but it is something to know. And I suppose if you have a history of genetic epilepsies in your families, it's important to know. So it's something you could look out for. So as far as applications are concerned, I get calls all the time. It doesn't matter what format, Facebook or Twitter or emails or whatever, I get calls all the time. So this is the general information as far as an application is concerned. Lots of the times patients don't think that they can get their doctors on board, or their doctors are saying that they can't prescribe, but any doctor can prescribe, and these are some of the details. This is the pharmacy in The Hague. Some of this is Paul, who is in charge of the pharmacy, and the ladies that produce it. They've since expanded, actually, so they're able to produce quite a lot more. The cons, much like, yeah. You need to watch out for this guy, because not all CBDs are the same. For example, there is a product in America that I know is coming into this country that we even got independently lab tested. It has a license for industrial purposes, for rope, for paper, yet it is producing CBD as a medicine and is coming into this country. You're not going to get your medicine consistent, and the same way you wouldn't order your Epilum or your whatever, your Sabril, your whatever they are, you wouldn't order them on the internet. Be careful what you're ordering. You don't know what you're going to get all the time. What else? The interactions, the same point. Quite often I hear, it's natural, it's a plant, what's the problem? You're introducing a lot of medical conditions and interactions, and when you have so many medications, with their own side effects. You introduce a cannabis compound, be it CBD or THC or any of the others, you will see interactions. And those horrible side effects you see with Keppra Rage, the Epilepsy, the depressions, so many different things, the memory issues, you will see them increase, and you also have to consider what is that doing on their body, the pressure on their liver. So I know the desperation, we've been there. I know the desperation that you need to do something, but I suppose consider, is it worth, do you know what you're getting, and how do you know? For example, when we started the medical cannabis of Tristan, the very first thing they'd done was bloods. We'd done a rainbow. So it was every level, all his vitamins, vitamin B, everything was done. So we knew what the baseline was, and we knew bit by bit as we were going along, and it was very, it was overseen very well. But there was constant checking on the blood levels to see how his liver was coping with all of these. When we seen a big rise in the levels caused from the epilepsy, for example, we knew that could be reduced. So that was a great thing. But if we didn't have those bloods, we wouldn't know that the liver was being put under pressure. So little things like that make a huge difference. Another con, the dosing schedule. I think one of the things with Epidiolex, we spoke about this just briefly, it's not an easy route. It's a route that will be, in our opinion, the best route for Tristan and the safer route as far as without the side effects. But it's not an easy route. It's not going to be dosed like you would take your tablet morning, evening, or 3 times a day. It doesn't work like that. And I think the microdosing is something that Oren Davinsky actually found fascinating. He thought we had a very, very unique schedule as far as how we dosed and how often we dosed. And I think that's really important. It is unique. And I think you really have to know, which is why it's difficult for consultants who see them, every once in a while. This is where GPs could be invaluable as well, having more face-to-face contact with the patient. But the dosing is, the smaller the better. And you'll see things like drooling at the beginning. When you're introducing it, you'll see drooling. And it doesn't matter if it's CBD or THC, you'll see that. You'll see a patient, or Tristan, sleepy. But you'll see that with the introduction of all the other AEDs as well anyway, but you'll see sleepy. But as they are getting used to the product, that'll wear off. If you don't see the drooling wearing off, you're too high. So little things like that make a big difference. I think for us, we schedule quite often, which means that we don't need to go very high, but it's controlled consistently through the day and night. And essentially, without it, Tristan would still be like this. He's 5 and, I don't know how many months, 5 and a bit, and turning 50, and knows his mind. And by the age of 5, we were told to expect him to be non-verbal in a wheelchair. And he walks a mile and a half to school. It's made a huge difference, huge. This is a part of it. So this was our amazing doctor in Colorado. And these are some of our OT, physio, and SLT, which he doesn't need anymore. So this is part of it. So how it benefits, doesn't need as many treatments. So he was discharged from needing OT and physio and SLT at the hospital level in Colorado. That was in 2016. So we had these wonderful people come to our empty apartment and do a little bit of home care, like you would your co-actions or your Enable Ireland's, I think they come as well. So they'd done a little bit of that as well. But before we left, we actually got discharged from needing OT or physio at all. So we went from a child that couldn't walk. That's why Tristan is in the buggy there at just about nearly 2 years old, meeting the doctor, to walking a mile to school and walking a mile home. So doesn't need those treatments anymore. He had tried, I think, about 14 medications. Some of them were shocking, and some of them worked for a little while, and then, as it does with Dravet, it wears off. So this would have been about, I think, maybe September or October. So from beginning medical cannabis in the later part of December, I think nearly around Christmas time, to October, he had come off 7 drugs. So he had, as it says, 70 doses less. 3 months was his longest time seizure-free. He hasn't actually stretched anything further than that since. We do feel there is a huge difference as far as humidity and weather. Gets more cold, so we have to be more watchful of that. We don't have as much free rein to work with his medicine here either, so we have our script, we work with our script, but when we were in America, you would have a little bit more room to go, okay, he's getting a cold, we will up the dose by 0.1, and that'll abort anything, and it'll keep things safe while there's cold there, and then we can take it away if we need to, or when everything's well again. So we don't really have much room to do that here, so that's a bit of an obstacle. We have addressed it, so hopefully it won't be an obstacle for much longer, but that is something. So with it, the frequency, it reduces. For Tristan, the longest he's gone is 3 months. The duration, so he went from having a minimum of 20 minutes in a seizure, most of the time being shipped off to hospital, to 40 seconds. That's our average, 40 seconds, and our rescue is THC. So our rescue plan is long, but that's because we have so many backups. So we have a rescue plan. First thing is THC instantly, like you would your Midaz, your buccal Midaz or something. And that is usually all we need to do. If it's something where he's quite sick, we may need to give a second dose. And then we have our backups, our nasal Midaz, and then it's up to the hospital and whatever happens up there. So we do have a long list of a backup situation, but generally, and I'll show you in the next one actually, generally he's out of it in 40 seconds. He usually has like 10 minutes of a lie down, post-ectal, and then he's up again playing, asking for tea or something. Compared to, he's a super tea lover, it's crazy. So reduces the need for patient treatments. Like, I mean, he's not in a wheelchair. He doesn't, if you think of it outside of the emotional aspect, he's not costing the state or the health system all this money. He was on average in the hospital maybe 2 months in a year. And since 2016, he's been in hospital twice. So huge effects. We really do credit it to the THC as much as the CBD. Perhaps because Tristan is on the severe end, that is why. But we have great value in the THC. I don't think he'd be as well without it. This one here, actually in the middle, this was 10 minutes after a seizure. And he built this train track, and he's happy out. And that was after rescue with the THC. So he had a 40-minute seizure, 40 minutes because of the THC. If he didn't have it, guaranteed it would have just continued. And lie down on the couch, 10 minutes later, build your train track. So, okay, so the takeaway, be proactive. Get involved in the PPIs. Get your voice heard as far as a parent or a patient. What you feel needs to be better. I know I found great value in it. When I came back, it was like, how do I keep making this change and this happen? And how do I keep this movement going? I'm not the type to stand around with a banner. It's just not my deal. I don't like it. I prefer to be proactive and get involved in a positive way as opposed to bringing people down, and I don't like it. So it's not me. So I got involved in patient panels, and at the moment I'm selected for the electronic health system. I have been involved in cervical checks, so all the leaflets and the new website that are going out, I was part of 10 people doing that. I just found the best way to do it was to get involved. Again, the medical access program, I'm hoping they're going to come out with IDs, so it'll be easier than, you know, if you're a patient and you're stopped in a car and you have to explain something like that, so you've got your IDs. Something similar to what they do in America. But there has been amendments made on that part. Be informed. Ask what your options are. Every consultant and every nurse in our country is overwhelmed and they have a 10-minute slot to get you in and out. But email them if you don't get that time to sit down with them. Get your information and you know, ask questions you need to. Know your triggers. And if they're your triggers, your child should know them and try to avoid them or take them away. For example, right now, Tristan is at a level where we are needing to change his dose. And again, because it's a very new system here, we're not able to just go to the doctor, change the dose. We have to have a little bit more advice than that. But he needs to change his dose. So right now he's sensitive to telly. So we just don't use telly. It's gone. We just don't use it. Sugar. It was one of the 2 times in the last few years he had a reaction to an antibiotic which had huge amounts of sugar in it as well. But you know, it's something that is now listed. So that is a trigger. We know that. We listed it. As far as managing them, we don't. There's papers on it. I'm not sure if it's absolutely accepted or not, but the moon cycle. We watch it, we've got apps, we make so much note of it. If we're going to see seizures, if we're going to see any activity, if he's not sick, it's the new moon or the full moon. And 2 days before or 2 days after, we note this. We have found papers on it, and I think anything after 2014 is more about seizure activity than the previous, where they believed that the melatonin and how the melatonin affected your sleep levels was affecting anything else. But that is something that we definitely see effects for as far as seizures are concerned. I think that's it. As far as I think maybe a few more things that I forgot to write down. Some more cons, and it is listed with Bedrocan as well as a couple of other medical papers that we found in the States. The contraindicated schizophrenia, and it can be an addictive substance. It's absolutely so. As far as a harmless thing, you know, there are side effects there as well. As far as other pros, terpene profile, it's hugely important. And again, the growing conditions dictates what terpenes you're getting, what quantity or quality of them you're getting. And if you don't have a product that's consistently grown, you know what metals are or are not in it, what terpene profile it contains. If you're not getting consistent quantity of CBD and THC, whatever you're looking for, whatever this product tells you it is, it has to be that. And it has to be that in every single package. So be it Epidiolex, 39%, I think, in clinical trials. Not much profiles, terpenes. Yeah, no terpenes. It'll work for 39% of people. I firmly believe in terpenes. I think that it has been one of the most valuable things that we had for Tristan as far as building up his immune system. He didn't get colds as much. And even now, I think obviously we're on a different product. The terpene profile is different, but he's still getting them. It has made a difference. What else can I tell you? CBN. I'm sorry if I'm going over time, am I? CBN, something that's not very readily available, and I have brought this up to the pharmacy in The Hague. It's very difficult to isolate it. It would be costly to isolate it enough to dispense it in a product, but it was magic, absolutely magic. So to be able to use CBN, we would use it like an abort. So if Tristan was feeling, if we knew he was sick, he's got a cold, he's clearly got a cold, we need to watch him during the night, we need to have him a full night's sleep, we would give him a few drops of the CBN. This was in America, it's not available to us here. And it was amazing. It allowed him to have a full sleep. It allowed him to have a seizureless sleep, so we didn't see any silent seizures. We didn't see any seizure activity whatsoever as far as the tonic-clonics, any of those. And it meant that he recovered from that flu faster. He was able to get that full night's sleep as well to recover better. Other than that, if you have a circle, if you don't have a circle, you need to get one. Support system is invaluable, and it doesn't always come from the places you think it will, and sometimes you don't get the involvement that you think you will. You need to find your circle for support. It's difficult enough to have a child with a serious condition, and it's difficult to get help. So if your help isn't coming naturally, you need to find it and find a good circle that you can rely on and get some time for yourself to take a break, to take care of yourself. You know, can't pour from an empty cup. So other than that, I'm sure I've forgotten something, but that's it. So thank you for listening.